Welcome to my show simply entitled Women Influencers, where you will find inspirational stories of successful women in business. I am Veronica, CCIM, founder and CEO of the Capstrata Group of Companies, providing commercial real estate development, brokerage, and property management services in the greater Orlando area. This week, we have another installment of the compiled questions that my guests have asked me in the past. Here are clips from the episodes of Edie Weintraub, Beth Azor, and John Crossman. Please don't forget to hit that thumbs up button and subscribe below. I welcome your comments and please share with someone who can benefit from this podcast.
So we have had the pleasure of running into each other a couple times, one at Beth Azor's conference in March, and then most recently at REconvene on the West Coast. So I'm curious to hear maybe a couple of highlights from you about your experience in that conference and what learnings you took home.
Yes, absolutely. And for the sake of our audience, the conference called REconvene was held in Santa Monica this year, and it was put together by actually a Twitter influencer whose name is Moses Keegan. And it is really more for operators. In other words, people who have invested in commercial real estate. And so you and I both, Edie, we got a chance to meet a lot of these people. And I wasn't shocked, but there was probably about 95% men and 5% women, right? And what I took from that was that there are women in our industry like Beth Azor who's made such an impact on, for instance, that industry itself, because my understanding is that last year there was probably maybe 3 women that attended this conference. Yeah, I don't know if you even knew that because I was asking around. And so I think we were probably about maybe close to 10 or a dozen women. And that to me was eye opening, number one. But number two, listening to the operators who started from scratch really inspired me a lot. There was a speaker, a keynote speaker, who spoke about having a 9 to 5 job and an executive job and figured out that if he just started buying single family homes, and he started with 3, I believe, and ended up with 5,400 units, I mean, in a span of less than 10 years. My takeaway would be if they can do it, we can do it too. Now, most especially for women who are starting to engage in industries that are not typically attended by women, I think it's so important. You and I, and the rest of the women, and hopefully more women on this podcast who are listening, would really just open their minds to entering an industry that perhaps women are not so who are not typically attending, because you just don't know where that would take you. I think that that's the biggest takeaway from me, and of course, so many other sort of golden nuggets that I got just in furthering my business. And again, it's not for everyone. Number one, it's pretty limiting because of the cost of it, right? Because it's one of those expensive conferences. However, if there's a will, there's a way, right? And so I was really just in awe. And guess what? I'm going again next year. I'm not sure if you are, but certainly want to reconnect with all these people. And as a matter of fact, I have just connected with a lot of them on LinkedIn. It's really fantastic. So LinkedIn is pretty great.
So I wanted to, I'm on this mission to get more women to invest. So tell me about your investing experiences.
Well, and I've shared this with you already, just a little bit here and there, but never really got to tell that story. And what it is that I had a leasing assignment from my own family because we had purchased a franchise for a wellness spa, Jay Sterling's Wellness Spa. And my assignment was to go and find space for our spa, and found out that either way, or any, even if it's a new construction or maybe an older space, the build out was going to cost us about $500,000.
Wow.
Then I went to your summit, the Women's Investment Summit in South Florida. And I was watching and listening to all the women that you had invited on the stage. And I thought to myself, my goodness, if they can do it, we can do it too. And certainly got so inspired by you, Beth, And I kid you not, the day after I returned from your investment summit, I gathered my sisters, who were my partners in the franchise, and I said, "Hey, guess what? We're buying a building." And they were all like, "What? What are you talking about?" And I said, "Don't worry, we're going to do it." I mean, at that point, I mean, of course, I'm in the industry. I kind of know how it works, but never really did it with them here in Florida. And lo and behold, a few months later, we closed on our first building. And let me tell you that if not for that summit, and I don't, this is not BS. If not for that summit, I would not have opened my mind to the possibility that we could own a building for a franchise. And you know what? We're going to wash, rinse, and repeat because we did it SBA and we got a nice enough size building to where I get to lease 40% of the building. And if all goes well after a year, SBA already told us you could open your next franchise. So we're on our way and we're like super excited.
One of my daughter's favorite books is Pride and Prejudice, and there's a movie called Pride and Prejudice and Zombies that had a little twist.
Yes.
But if you know that book or if you know the movie, what's the plot? The plot is a wealthy man knows he's going to die and he can't leave his real estate to his daughters. So they have to get married so that he can let them have their wealth. Real estate ownership has been used to control minorities and women, for a large part of history. So if we want to help women and minorities, part of that, not all of it, but part of it is real estate education, real estate empowerment. And that is a huge modern blessing that we need to get more attention to.
No, I absolutely agree with you. And in a small way, right? This podcast has that same intention. And that's exactly the reason why once in a while I feature men like you who have played a very big part in advocating for success of women. I've had mentors like, him, Robin Webb, Ben Crosby. Sure. They have opened doors for me, which has really allowed me to enter into an industry that are predominantly white male. So I definitely appreciate what you just shared there, because I think that what you just expressed just now really just puts into perspective really the importance of it, and also that you've given sort of a picture of why men in power need to be able to advocate for the disadvantaged. I mean, truly, it's hard. We need men like you in our corner. So thank you for all the work that you do.